Hey, this is Mark Moore, aka Tuxedo Mark, at various places on the internet. It's 12:49 p.m. according to a computer clock on Wednesday, June 26, 2013. It actually just turned 12:49 right when I hit record. Okay, so this is my vlog on Man of Steel. I just saw it yesterday with my mom. So I'm gonna kind of geek out on it for quite a while. Okay, I watched some reviews when I got home. I put off on watching these reviews until after I saw the film. I saw the from that guy with the glasses, the Bun review, or rather, Zod review in this case. I saw the sibling rivalry thing between Doug and Rob Walker, and I've watched parts of Brad Jones's vlog and part of Angry Joe's vlog. I can see some of their points, and I'll get into that while I'm talking about the movie. Okay, first of all, I went in with no expectations at all. I kind of sort of remember Superman Returns from a few years ago. I don't remember exactly how long ago that was, anyway. So I just kind of went in with no expectations. I didn't expect it to be good. I didn't expect it to be bad. So how was it? It was okay. I was excited throughout, but here's okay. Bit of my history with Superman. I've seen the first two Christopher Reeve films. I watched Smallville from beginning to end. I was with it throughout the whole run. I saw a few episodes of Superman the Animated Series and Justice League Unlimited. Mostly the ones with Supergirl in it. I read some Superman comic books, like back in the early 2000s. I'm not really into superhero comics anymore. But I have an idea of Superman. A basic idea. Okay. Not like a huge fan or nothing. I am a huge fan of Supergirl. So I've seen some of the Superman animated films. Superman Batman Apocalypse and Superman Unbound. Okay. So, going into this, I went into it thinking, okay, this is going to be a fresh start. It's going to introduce Superman to a whole new generation. So I went into it fully expecting the origin and stuff like that. Okay. I took some notes here to help guide me here. Okay, first of all, the cast. Not familiar with Henry Cavill at all. Complete unknown to me, much like Brandon Routh was for Superman Returns. He was fine. Okay. Amy Adams, not familiar with her. She was good as Lois. I liked her. Not familiar with Russell Crowe. He was good as Jor-El. I am familiar with Diane Lane, who played Martha Kent, but only from a 1984 film called Streets of Fire. She was good. I'm familiar with Kevin Costner from Dances with Wolves, but I saw that like years ago, back in like late 80s, early 90s, something like that. He was okay as Jonathan Kent, but I'll get into some of the issues with that. Don't know the guy who played General Zod. He was okay. I liked Fiona. She was okay. You see, the thing is, everyone seems to be okay. Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White, he's okay. Guy played Lombard, throw in a random Daily Planet person, I think he's like the sports writer or something. Okay, fine. They turned Jimmy Olsen into a girl, I guess. Jenny Olsen, she was okay. Alright, so the cast is okay. Both the ones I don't know and the more famous ones. I'm not really familiar with Russell Crowe's work, so he was okay. I wasn't expecting anything, one way or the other. So, the cast was fine, I think. I don't think anyone was miscast, so to speak. There was this one guy from, I forget his name, he's on one of the Law and Order series. I know him only because my mom watches Law and Order. He played like the colonel or the general or whatever. He was fine. Okay, so Zack Snyder, I'm familiar with him from Watchmen. I haven't seen 300. I haven't seen Sucker Punch or anything else. It didn't really seem like Zack Snyder's style came through. It feels more like Christopher Nolan's style, actually, from the Batman films. That said, I think it was okay directing. Some of the fights, especially the final fight at the end, went on too long, I think. My mom got confused over what exactly Superman was trying to accomplish. I mean, she kind of got what he was trying to do, but she was confused over where he was and what he was doing at any given point, and it kind of lost me too. Yeah, the fight, the final battle really could use trimming. The Smallville fight was fine. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed when Sears got destroyed. Oh boy, the destruction in this film was catastrophic. My mom, who really doesn't know anything about CGI or anything, asked how much did it cost to make this movie, because I guess she thought that all the buildings were destroyed for real. But anyway, kind of bothered me that Metropolis was back up and running at the end of the film with no problem. But you could maybe attribute that to Lex Luthor. If you think about it, he might throw a bunch of his money at the city to get back up and running, and that could feed into like his anti-Superman thing. But you know, he's probably gonna be in the next film, because I saw a tanker truck with the LexCorp logo on it, so yeah, Lex is coming. Let's see. So how does this film compare to the other Superman films? Well, I've seen the first two Christopher Reeve films, and they both have their hokey and cheesy moments, but they're fun to watch. And actually, in the first Christopher Reeve film, up until they get to Metropolis, it's pretty serious. So, it's surprisingly mature for a 1970s comic book film. That said, comparing this movie to the Christopher Reeve films and Superman Returns, I don't know. I mean, this one definitely takes itself more seriously. Man of Steel is a very, very serious, moody film. Okay, there are a few jokes here and there, but it takes a long time to get to the first one. And most of the jokes are kind of like, it's not really, really laugh out loud funny type of humor. It's more like, Yeah, stuff like that. So I guess I would say this would be my preferred Superman film to watch compared to the others. I mean, as I said, I'm not exactly a huge Superman fan, but I suppose I would watch this one more so than the others. I might not be the best person to judge Superman, but anyway. They do call him Superman, but it comes late in the film. He's called Superman 3 times in rapid succession in one scene, and that's it. So I think this film is superior to Superman Returns. I mean, Superman Returns was fun, but it was too much of a Richard Donner love fest. It just copied so much from the Donner films. Because, like, Bryan Singer was trying to position it as like a pseudo-sequel to the first two Christopher Reeve films. It just felt distracting. And it felt, quite a bit hokey, too. With this film, it has its own unique style, and it's not necessarily Zack Snyder style. It feels like they're basically, it feels like Superman begins or Superman starts, if you will. It definitely has the feeling of the Batman, of the Nolan-verse Batman films. Speaking of that, there's a Wayne Enterprises satellite in one scene. It's very quick. You might not even be able to read the logo, but it's in there as an Easter egg. Whether that means it's connected to the Nolan-verse Batman films or not, Anyway. Okay, as I mentioned, I watched Smallville from beginning to end, and I was kind of intrigued over how much of an influence that Smallville would have on this film. I mean, it's been off the air for a little over... Well, the series ended a little over 2 years ago. I don't know if it's been off the air quite that long. They might have done repeats after a series finale. I don't remember. A series finale really soured me on Smallville, but I did a whole other video about that. Anyway, they do the origins. I mean, they show the storytelling, the structure. It's like they'll flash back every so often. They start out with Krypton being destroyed and him being sent to Earth, and then all of a sudden he's a grown man. Kind of jarring. Then they insert flashbacks at opportune times, and they're not in chronological order. He'll jump around from one age to another and back and in between during the different flashbacks. They're not in chronological order. But the thing is, they're presented in opportune moments. Like, he sees a school bus. He flashes back to when he had to save his own school bus in elementary school. Or he and Lois are at his dad's grave, and then we see a flashback of how his dad died. Stuff like that. It's kind of like in The Passion of the Christ. Remember, if you saw a film, how Jesus or anyone else that witnesses something during the Passion, it kind of reminds them of something in the past. Like Jesus sees Pilate washing his hands, and then he flashes back to the disciples washing their hands during the Last Supper, stuff like that. Oh, speaking of Christ, the Christ imagery in this film, it's like, jeez. First of all, Superman's been on Earth for 33 years, which is kind of like the traditional age of Jesus when he was killed, due to some assumptions and a certain way of reading information in the New Testament. Yeah. There's no proof that he was 33 exactly when he died or anything like that. But anyway, yeah, they do like this one part when Superman exits a ship in space and he's in the crucified position. No reason for him to be that way when he's just going out into space. They just thought, hey, Jesus imagery, It's really heavy-handed. There's this one scene where he's in church, and there's a stained glass window with Jesus like right behind him. Yeah, wow. They really went overboard with that. Alright, so how Smallville influences Man of Steel. I was looking for Smallville influences. I mean, they threw in Lana Lang. I think they call her just Lana, though. They threw in Whitney Fordman, which was her boyfriend that was created specifically for Smallville. He's not from the comic books. If you remember, like, back in season 1 of the show, she had that jock boyfriend, Whitney Fordman. They put him in there. Although there's just a brief reference like that Fordman boy. But I'm wondering if the scene where Clark is being beat up later, or where the kid's trying to get Clark to fight him, I'm wondering if that was Whitney. I don't think they made that clear. Anyway, speaking of that scene, if you look in the back, it says something like Sullivan's Auto Repair or something like that. It's possible Chloe's parents might own the business or something. Chloe Sullivan from Smallville. Yeah, I noticed that pretty much right away. Pete Ross is in there. He has red hair, which is kind of strange. And Pete, I think, definitely has more screen time than Lana. We see Pete in the past and the present. Doesn't amount to anything. I mean, yeah, I think Pete comes and helps Clark up after Clark was being bullied, and that came after Pete, I guess, kind of had a change of heart after Clark rescued the school bus, and they kind of became friends. But it doesn't amount to much. I mean, Pete kind of gives Clark a look when Superman is, having that street fight in Smallville. Like, Pete looks at him, and Clark just kind of looks back at him, and they kind of have a moment. But Pete doesn't really amount to much. He's mostly there for, basically for his mom to bring up accusations that, my son saw Clark dead, and also later on for Lois to ask, Pete about the bus incident, and that leads her to Clark. So Pete doesn't really have much of a character of his own. It's just like, oh, here's Pete Ross. He's from Smallville. Remember that? Yeah, okay. So it's like it's kind of like Smallville light. They throw in, they throw in some Smallville flashbacks. Not to the show, obviously, but to their version of Smallville, and it's okay. I mean, Kevin Costner, I've seen him be both praised and criticized for his role as Jonathan Kent. I thought he was he was okay. It's just that one scene that really bugged me is after they talked with Pete's mom about the bus incident, and Clark's like, what was I supposed to do, let them die? And Jonathan's like, maybe. Horrible, horrible thing. No, you do not let your friends die to keep your dumb little secret. Okay, no matter what the secret is, you do not let your friends die. It's a horrible thing to tell Clark to do. Also later on, Jonathan basically visually tells Clark to not save him from a tornado because it would expose him. I'm sure that there would have been discreet ways for Clark to be able to save him, but Jonathan was like, it's okay, whatever. And that tornado, it came just out of nowhere. It was so hokey. It's like they're driving, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's the tornado. It's like, what? It literally comes out of nowhere. And then Jonathan's just like really peaceful as the tornado comes over. I mean, I've heard, that people said they've cried during that scene, but it's like, how do you not know that you're driving straight towards the tornado? And even if you do decide to sacrifice yourself to protect your son's secret, you wouldn't be so calm about it as the tornado was coming over you. Oh boy. Wait a minute. The gravestone said that Jonathan died in 1997. If this movie's taking place in the present time and Clark is 33, that means he was born in 1980, so I guess he would have been 17 when Jonathan died? 16 or 17? Maybe. Okay. I'm not familiar with the writers. I forget who wrote it, honestly. The music, don't remember who composed it. I don't miss the John Williams theme, and I thought the music was just fine. I've heard people criticize the music that's playing when Krypton explodes. I thought it was fine. I thought it was effective. There's too much shaky cam, in the filming. Even when people are just having a conversation. Now that said, I didn't really find it distracting. It doesn't bother me like it bothers other people, but whatever. The characters themselves. I've heard criticized that the characters are just kind of archetypes or archetypes or however you pronounce it. It's like just a bare minimum outline of who they are, and I can see that kinda. I think Lois is more fleshed out than people give her credit for. In general, I think the characters they're fine. I love the scene between Clark and his mom when Clark locks himself in the school closet. That was really good. And Lois, despite people saying that there's really no purpose to her being there, I still enjoyed her just fine. You really can't have a Superman movie without her anyway. And I think for the situations that they put her in, she performed just fine. And it's nice to see her firing futuristic Kryptonian weapons and shooting, possibly killing some Kryptonians. I think she takes out 2 or 3 of them. Um, she was fine. As I said, I'm not familiar with Amy Adams, but I enjoyed her introduction scene when she arrives at the Arctic or whatever, and she makes this one comment that I won't repeat here, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. Okay. Yeah, Perry. They cast Lawrence Fishburne. Not familiar with him either. Well, yeah, Matrix films, okay, but he was fine. I think the cast and characters were fine. No one really. They don't stand out. I mean, there's. How do I say this? There was no one that was really offensively bad or anything like that. I hate to say serviceable because I think there are, moments where the actors shine and the characters shine. So I don't want to say serviceable. I'm just having trouble remembering some standout moments here. Mostly, I was focused on Lois, obviously, because she's the main female character, and I'm all about the female characters. But yeah, I would think that Erica Durance is still the best Lois Lane ever, followed by Dana Delaney from Superman the Animated Series. Margot Kidder was close to being a great Lois. I loved her emotional state at the end of Superman 2, and I wish it hadn't been undone. I wish she would have been left to deal with it. But, let's see, Terry Hatcher was okay. I don't really remember much of her performance. But anyway, yeah, so I think Amy Adams did good. She did, obviously she's not quite as memorable as Erica Durance, but she did a respectable job. Okay. Now this other the product placements. Yeah, there's a lot of product placements. Pete works at IHOP. Okay, and there's a fight in IHOP. There's a fight at 7-Eleven. There's a fight at Sears, which I really enjoyed. My mom, not quite these words, but she kind of asked if it was a metaphor for Sears going out of business. Which will happen. I don't know if it'll happen by the end of this year or not, but they are burning through so much cash. So them having a product placement in Man of Steel, it's just, if they paid for that, it's a waste of money because they are on their way out anyway. And I am not sad to see them go. I worked at Kmart for 5.5 years, almost 6, and I do not miss that place. It can go out of business for all that I care. Okay. Now this last item that I want to talk about is regarding. Okay, you know the scene where they find the ship. It's been like frozen in ice for like 18,000 years. By the way, I love how Lois gives a voiceover. I guess it's supposed to be part of the article that she's writing. And I love how she has no qualms about having it leaked onto the internet when it's rejected. And I love how she just takes the 2 weeks off without pay as her punishment. She's like, fine. So I love Lois's I don't give a crap attitude. I'm just gonna do what I want. I love that. I love it. Anyway, this next part. Okay, regarding the ship. When Clark's walking around there, you know how some of the pods or whatever in there have skeletons in them, but one of them is open, and there's no one in there. That's kind of a backdoor, like an open backdoor to the possibility that there's at least one other Kryptonian out there, and Clark is not alone at the end of this film. That there's someone else out there. Now, who could that be? Another survivor from Krypton. Well, when you, I believe when you pre-order the Blu-ray, I think. I'm trying to. I can't. Let me see if I can find the information online here really quick. I know. And I saw like some of the pages for this. Let me see if I can find it here. Anyway, where was this comic released? Was it already released? I'm guessing that it was. I can't find the information about where this prequel comic is. I think you get it as a bonus if you pre-order the Blu-ray or something, or pre-order the movie on home video in general. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. But Supergirl. Yeah. Kara Zor-El survives Krypton's destruction. So, yeah, she's out there. She exists in the Snyderverse Superman, the Snyder Superverse, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, she exists, so she could possibly be in the sequel. Don't know who'd I want to play her. I have no idea. But yeah, so that is very cool for me personally. I am a huge Supergirl fan. I don't read the comics anymore, but my first comic book ever was the second Supergirl safety belt campaign that was done in partnership with Honda, I believe. Yeah, it's the one, the fairy tale one, where it's like a dream sequence or whatever. But yeah, so Supergirl is very special to me. Don't quite like how they ended up ultimately handling her on Smallville, or even on Justice League Unlimited. I enjoyed her portrayal in Superman, Batman Apocalypse, and Superman Unbound, which really, in a way, should be called Supergirl Year 1 and Supergirl Year 2, let's be honest. And the first one is about her, and then the second one, she's a very strong supporting character, so, yeah. But I'm definitely looking forward, I hope, to seeing Supergirl on the big screen in the next Superman film. If she doesn't get a film of her own, then I'd be glad to see her as a strong supporting character in the next film. So, yeah, anything else for me to say about Man of Steel while I still got the video recording? I guess just to recap, it came off as fine to me. It's like they were trying to throw in some references to Smallville. They had some of the characters there, but if you want to know like Clark's backstory, and I think they were kind of taking for granted that they were not taking for granted, but they were going under the assumption that everyone still remembers Smallville. Obviously, it was on for 10 years. It just ended in only the last couple of years. So they didn't really do too much beyond the bare minimum with the Smallville flashbacks, but they didn't even show Jonathan and Martha finding the ship. They didn't show that part. Whether they filmed it or not, I don't know. I'd be interested to know. But yeah, overall, it was fine. If you want to see the story of Clark's childhood told in more detail, watch Smallville, even though the final 2 episodes left a sour taste in my mouth. But what else? Music was okay. The film went on too long. It could have used trimming during the fighting. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I was satisfied with it. It's definitely a broody, moody film with very little humor in it, so be prepared for that if you haven't already seen it. And just let me know what you think. Leave some comments. Discuss the film. And I guess that's it. My recommendation, if you haven't already seen it, go and see it. At least once. And that's it. It's 1:28 p.m. and thanks for watching.